And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
I am a real American.
Good morning, everybody. It's CSAP, your Common Sense American Patriot, here with the Common Sense Politics Show. How is everybody doing today? I had a great night last night. I worked the fair last night, and I'm going to get into that at the end of this podcast, but it went much better than I thought. We're in kind of a purple district here, a little bit of a rougher area, not so many nice people, but it was actually pretty pleasant at the fair. I had no idea what to expect, and it turned out pretty good. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But today I want to start and get into some bigger things that happened yesterday. One here in California that's not so good, and not so good for the country moving forward. And then, so we have one bad news and one good news for the day, and then I'm going to go into some other stuff. So let's get right into the policy here in California that is going to start to maybe trickle down to the rest of the country. Definitely it's going to trickle down to more leftist ran states like New York, Chicago, all these different really far left states. You're probably going to start seeing laws similar to this, which I think is absolutely sickening and disgusting. So let's get right into it here. Story number one of the day. California governor signs law to limit shootings by police. Just the headline alone. I mean, we're going to go and break down this article, of course, but the headline alone, I'm so infuriated by this. The police their job is already hard enough. I mean, look at the police shootings that have been going on. It's almost daily now that you hear about police being shot and killed. And now we're going to have a governor. I can't stand this governor here in California. I hope he gets recalled sooner than later. But you have this far left progressive mayor here in California, or governor, I should say, I'm sorry, and we have a super majority here in California for the Democrats, so they literally have no resistance. So whatever bills the Democrats want to pass here in California, they write them up and pass. They have the super majority, so there's no stopping any bills, and it goes straight to Gavin Newsom, who is this far left progressive, who truly believes, mark my words here, he's going to run in 2024. He already believes he is the next president after Trump. And I say that because we're going to win 2020. But moving on, it just disgusts me. Police are under attack in this country 24/7. And you've got this knucklehead and these elected officials that are voting to making bills and signing into legislation to question police and make their jobs harder. So from the article here, California is changing its standards for when police can kill under a law signed Monday by Governor Gavin Newsom as it tries to deter police from shooting young minority men that have roiled the nation. So let's just break that down. So, changing the standards for when police kill under the new law. What even needs to be changed by that? Like, I don't think there's any police out there. Okay, you might have one nutcase out of the entire police force in America that probably gets some kind of joy for killing somebody, and he's going to get probably locked up when he does it. But I would fair to say that there's probably not another single person out there that wants to intentionally shoot and kill any human being. That's not in anybody's nature to really do that, especially law enforcement that goes into their job day to day. You talk to any one of them, that is the last thing they want to do, and they can't even stand. I've talked to a few officers, and they can't even stand when you sit there and ask, when they get people that ask them, like, have you ever shot anybody? Like, that's the dumbest question for a police officer. They hate that question. Like, that's the last thing they want to do on their job. So now we're going to question them and make it changing its standards for when they can do it. And then there's just the end of that sentence there, that paragraph of, as it tries to deter police from shooting young minority men. They don't pick and choose like who they're going to shoot when they're in these split-second decisions. It has nothing to do with that. It's so it drives me absolutely crazy when they try to make this narrative. And that's the problem with this country is, so police shootings, they happen. We're going to go into some statistics here in a little bit. But with these police shootings, they're not looking to shoot these people, and they're not picking on any type of minority or any kind of group. They're out there doing their job, and they're trying to make sure they go home at the end of the day to their families. Police want to go home to their families. They don't want to be shot and killed themselves. And as you look at it, it's happening day to day. So let's go move on with the article here. The law by the Democratic Assemblywoman Shirley Weber of San Diego will allow police to use lethal force. And I like this. She will allow police to use lethal force only when necessary to defend against an imminent threat of death or serious injuries to officers or bystanders. But lawmakers dropped an explicit definition of necessary that previously had said officers could use deadly force only when there is no reasonable alternative. Okay, so they dropped the strict definition of necessary. Essentially, they were trying to really tie their hands. Essentially, before this bill got reworked a little bit, it was in the works of pretty much if they don't try everything else first and they end up shooting somebody, they're going to be held criminally liable. So luckily, that part at least got changed. But here's what's frustrating and irritating to me. These police officers now even that this law is out there, it's not this, they changed the necessary part of it, but police officers now even have a second, they're going to second guess themselves. Like, what do I do? Do I actually pull the trigger right now? Am I going to be held liable? Am I going to go to jail because I want to go home to my family at the end of the night? This is just disgusts me that these poor men and women out there that are running to danger, running to people who are true murderers and killers, they're running there to deter these guys, and now they have to have even a thought of, oh, do I defend myself here or not? These are split-second decisions that these men and women have to make under the most duress that 99% of the population will never understand. The pressure that goes into when they have to, their life is on the line. And now they have to actually even have a thought of like, oh my God, if I shoot this guy, could I go to jail for the rest of my life for defending my life and wanting to go home to my family? So that's what even just drives me crazy. Great, you guys changed the necessary term of this bill, but it still puts that notion into place that police have to question themselves on saving their lives. No police officer wants to go out there and just randomly kill people and randomly pick out minority groups to attack them. I got a great idea. If you're so affected by, if you believe this is true, which I don't, that minorities are being targeted by police, minority groups, become police officers. If you don't like how the police is policing your community, guess what? Go to school, get your law degree, get into the police department, join the military, get your veteran status, get on police departments. If you believe that you are being targeted and unfairly policed, then do something about it. Become a police officer yourself. I don't know. It sounds like a pretty common sense thing to me. If you want to change things, if you don't like how the law is being enforced in your neighborhoods, go be a police officer and you can go into those neighborhoods and police them. So a couple more parts I want to take out of this. Law enforcement officials said that would have open officers to endless second guessing of what often are split second life and death decisions. Correct. And that's coming from the police, like the police unions. That's what these guys were vehement. Oh my gosh. I am stuttering bad right now, guys. Sorry about that. But these are the people that were vehemently fighting this bill. Is that it is. You're going to be putting these officers in life and death situations, and they're going to have to second guess themselves. And it's just setting these police officers up for all kinds of trouble. It's just, this is an unnecessary rule. Like I was saying before, we're talking about, I'm going to show you some statistics that we're talking that less than 1% of police shootings are criminally charged. So we're creating bills for something that's not even 1% of police shootings. Granted, if you were talking about 25% of police shootings were starting to come out to be unjustifiable, like, okay, now we can really start talking. But when we're talking about less than 1% of police shootings as of now are unjustifiable, we're changing and creating laws. That's a problem with our country. Less than 1% of population or things are creating laws and bills that are affecting more than 99% of the population in this country. And that's what's wrong. We need less government, not government to create bills for 1% of issues. Less government, less government. I'm going to preach it every day for the rest of my life. Less government. We don't need all these rules and regulations and bills and restrictions. We just need to have common sense. That's the end of all of everything. More common sense. So it changes the culture of policing in California. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. They want to change the whole culture of how police do. It is linked to a pending Senate bill requiring that officers be trained in ways to de-escalate confrontations, alternatives to open fire, and how to interact with people with mental illness or other issues. I want to bingo right on that one. I'm all for training. Okay, you want to train them more? I'm all for that. I still don't like how you make them second guess themselves. I don't know why this bill just didn't go into that. We're going to help train the officers more. We're going to give them more. We're going to give more funding to police departments for more training, some more de-escalation things. Fine, I'm all good. Fine, I'm good with that. But here's the thing: how it ends, and interact with people with mental illness. I don't know, guys. How many times have I've been saying it here on my show? I've been saying it daily. Mental illness in this country is one of the key problems to a lot of things we are having. Mental illness. We need to start sending more funds, more things to get people help. If people aren't getting help, then we have these issues everywhere. It's not just homeless. It's not just shootings. It's not these mass shooters. It's everywhere. We have so many issues because of mental illness. And I'm glad this article was able to point that out to us. And even their own words. They need more mental illness training because we need more mental illness help in this country. So I'm glad that happened. I'm glad they put that in the article because that's the key point of a lot of problems in this country. Mental illness. So I'm going to go into some statistics here. So here's some stats. Number of people shot to death by the police in the United States from 2017 to 2019. So as you can see, whites are shot almost double the amount of black, Hispanic, other, and then unknown. So white people are being shot too. I seriously hate the racial profile and the racial. I wish this would just say American shot. I mean, but you got to break it down because that's how statistics work. And when you're looking into that and you want to see how things are going, yes, black people are only 13% of the population in America. So having half their deaths coming from police is kind of a high number. But then it just correlates with everything else. So I got, let's see here, the Chicago shootings. That's what I want to bring up. So Chicago has the toughest, strictest gun laws. And these are predominantly black shootings that happen. So I wanted to bring this up because it just correlates. Like when you have these laws or cities or lawlessness, this is what happens. And Chicago is absolutely lawless. So in 2018, we had 561 murders in Chicago. 2,948 shooting victims last year and 2,391 total shootings. So that's a disproportionate amount of shootings, if you'd ask me, in a certain demographic area. So that's why you're going to have kind of these higher numbers. So when you have 2,000, 3,000 shootings almost in a year in just one city, I mean, that's going to correlate with these numbers here with the black population. That's a lot of people with a lot of guns and a lot of people being shot. So that's kind of how it goes. So here's an article from The Root here that I want to touch on because this guy is obviously, here's his headline, Police Brutality. I just want to touch some points on this that he even points out some great things that actually don't help his argument. So how many people are killed by police in 2018? Police killed 1,165 people in 2018. So 1,100, almost 1,200 people were shot and killed by police all in 2018. Okay. More Americans died last year from police shootings than mass shootings. So I don't know how he got his two numbers off. So police killed 1,165. So I don't know where he's getting his stats, but I just pulled this one up and using it because he says 986 than mass shootings of 84. So the last part I want to put in here. So 99% of the officers involved in the 1,165 police killings in 2018 were not charged with a crime. Okay, so 99% of officers. So okay, so let's just say double that. Let's say half those guys got off, or it should have been double the amount of people charged. So now we can push that 1% to maybe 2%. So you're talking about 2%, even in this guy's own words, who believes it's police brutality, and it's not. So we're talking about, even if you double the amount that this guy says, or double the amount that should have been charged, that kind of got off, we're talking about 2%. So 2% of police shootings may have been completely unjustifiable, but that's going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen, especially when you're in these split-second decisions. And when there are egregious things like this, that's when those police go to jail, and I have no qualms about that. Just like the guy a few years ago in North Carolina, where the guy was running from him. The guy is completely running, and the guy literally just pulls out his pistol and shoots him 5 times in the back or whatever it was. And that guy got charged and he went to jail. That was pretty unnecessary. That guy got caught, and I don't have any qualms with that. And that's what should happen. That's how the Justice Department and the justice system should work. But when you're asking these guys to make split-second decisions to save their lives and go home to their families, they should not have to question themselves. And they shouldn't have politicians question themselves. I'd love to see some of these politicians go out there and police some of these neighborhoods and all these guns, and we'll see how well they do. But that's, of course, why would they do that? Why would they go on a ride along with police? Why would they actually try to learn their job? Because they don't care. It's all just pandering. Democrats just, again, pandering for votes, making laws for something that's less than 1% of the population, and it's going to affect the rest of our population, because now police are going to be even more hesitant to go out there and do police work, which is going to help crime get even more rampant. And everybody who lives here in California already knows we had Prop 57 and 47, and crime is just spiraling out of control here. The police can't even police here. So let's move on to the next story. So that's the downer of the day. Now let's get into the good. Something good finally came about. Planned Parenthood pulls out a family planning program over Trump abortion rule. So essentially here, let's just go on. Planned Parenthood made good on months of threats to pull out of the Title X federal family planning program rather than comply with the new Trump administration rules barring federally funding clinics from referring patients to abortions. So essentially what Trump did is said, okay, listen, if you want this family funding, $60 million, that's how much is in the funding. If you want the funding, then you cannot refer people to get abortions. So Planned Parenthood said, up yours, we're not doing it, because of course they lost. They tried to sue and they lost. So now they said, well, forget you, Trump. We're not going to stop telling people to go get abortions, so we'll just not take the money. Thank you. The best part about this is here we are. So here's where it is, and this is. But while the group gets about $60 million a year under Title X, it receives far more Medicaid. It also gets funding from other federal and state programs to combat HIV and provide sexual education to teenagers. So even though they've lost this $60 million, they still get more than enough funding from other federal programs and for education. And that's what it's all about. And this is what I've said for a long time. I was at first a pro-choice up to 13 weeks. I figured if you can't figure out what to do in the first 13 weeks, then you definitely shouldn't get an abortion after that. But as I've seen where the Democrats have gone, and they forced me to educate myself more, because at first I really wasn't too educated on it. I just kind of, the first trimester, that's, the baby's not big enough. So I was uneducated. But when the progressives here started doing these all the way up to essentially full-term babies, I said, whoa, that is absolutely disgusting. What is wrong with you here? So then you forced me, thank you, Democrats, I appreciate it, because you forced me to go educate myself more about abortions, and now I am right there with, once there is a heartbeat, that's it. I'm leaning even, and you're pushing me even more at time of conception. But that's where I'm at. If there's definitely a heartbeat, so I support the Alabama, I believe it's Alabama heartbeat a law that once there is a heartbeat, that's it. That's a living being to me, and that's a wrap. You can no longer abort. And I've done I've posted statistics on this before, and I'll go into them another day with you guys. But pretty much statistically speaking, it was something like 80% of abortions already happened prior to the heartbeat law. So it's kind of funny. I laugh at that because I'm like, you guys are all up in arms about this heartbeat law, but if you look at the statistics, like 80% of abortions already happened before that stage anyways, which is good. I go for that. I believe we shouldn't be aborting any children. I believe in, like what this was, education. That's why those Title X programs were for education purposes, but you can't sit there and send people to abortion. Here's my thought on abortion too. When it comes to conservatives, we always talk about Democrats. They don't have any answers. They don't do any policies to really help. They just complain. Trump's a racist. We're all racist. We're kind of in the same boat, if you ask me. When it comes to abortion, we talk about we hate Planned Parenthood, we hate the abortion, we hate this. What have we done to change this? Why don't Republicans come up with some kind of center where it's strictly education, where it's, call it Planned Parenthood or whatever. I mean, don't call it Planned Parenthood, obviously, but call it something American values or family values or family clinic, something like, I don't know, whatever you want to name it, just come up with a name. But essentially, this would be a government program to help to educate, to help do all the other things that Planned Parenthood does, which Planned Parenthood does do all these other good things, minus the abortion mill that it has absolutely become, and that's its number one thing it does is abortions. But why don't Republicans come up with another facility that competes with Planned Parenthood, that actually is promoted and pushed out there and funded and gets people actual education, preventative diseases, condoms, whatever we can. I mean, we need to be much more educated on this whole how pregnancy happens and everything else, because it's silly. That we just have people getting pregnant. No, I'm just gonna go get an abortion, because that's just the lazy way out. Uneducated. It's sad. It's expensive, and it's just heartbreaking. So we need to just get kids more educated. Like, listen, if you guys are gonna be promiscuous, get educated, use protection, go on birth control, do these different things, learn about it. And that's where I believe we are failing as conservatives on the right. We hate Planned Parenthood and we bash Planned Parenthood, but what answers are we giving? So that would be my suggestion, is to put out a conservative, because obviously Planned Parenthood is backed by Democrats. We need to have some kind of clinic, facilities, some kind of big organization that we can put out there as conservatives to help these people out, instead of just attacking Planned Parenthood and trying to take away the good parts that they do and not have any solutions for that. So that's my take on Planned Parenthood and what we need to do as conservatives, in my opinion. The best part about this whole Planned Parenthood, I'm going back to the article here. Lower courts blocked major provisions of the new rule in April, but a 3-judge panel of the 9th Circuit Court lifted those injunctions on June 20th, finding that the administration will likely prevail in a legal battle because the Supreme Court upheld similar Reagan-era rules almost 30 years ago. So that's a wrap. Planned Parenthood's done. They're not even fighting that, so they lost $60 million because they don't want to not refer people to abortions, because that's their number one bread and butter, is aborting millions of babies a year. Disgusting, but we need a better solution, and that's my take on it. Okay, moving on. The other night, I was trying to get to this yesterday, but oh my gosh, yesterday's filming was painful. I took 5 different takes and couldn't get it done. I had all kinds of interruptions, all kinds of problems going on. So I want to go on the dinner I went to on Sunday night. I went to a great dinner at the American Freedom Alliance. So here they are, AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. They had an awards ceremony on Sunday night down at the Universal City Hilton. And it was a great show. So check out American Freedom Alliance. And so the awards they gave out awards for a couple different things. So Heroes of Conscience Award to those whom we believe have done the most to defend Western values and bring awareness to the threats faced by our civilization, and who have somehow, in some way, paid a price for it. So the president is Dr. Karen Siegman here. I'll get into it right here. She loses her teaching job for defending Western civilization. So last year she spoke at one of her own events because she's the president of the American Freedom Alliance here. And she spoke at the event, and the job, she was teaching at a school for the past 20 years, and they fired her. And they fired her strictly for being a conservative and having conservative values. And so she is suing the snot out of that school. She's got a high-powered lawyer with her, and if you look on Twitter, hashtag I stand with Karen, you'll see the hashtag and the GoFundMe. I've donated to it, and I've put it on my page a couple times because we need to support things like that. Where this one, the liberals messed up here. She has all kinds of documentation showing that she was strictly fired based on her views. So we have all kinds of documentation. So this is where we really need to help out fellow conservatives. This is a great lawsuit that the school is absolutely going to get destroyed. So do that. Go hashtag I stand with Karen on Twitter, or you probably even see it here on Facebook if you put in the hashtag search, and you will find her GoFundMe. This is where we need to help the cause, fund these patriots that have. This is going to be a landmark case, I'm telling you, because this school district really screwed up for firing her for strictly being conservative. So Karen Siegman was fired from her job after 20 years. So she got the award for that because obviously she kind of lost everything she had, her whole career, because she's a conservative. So a couple of the other awards they gave out. American Freedom Award to William Becker, president and chairman of the Freedom X, a law firm dedicated to protecting conservative and religious expressions. So this man, they did a video on him. I wasn't too familiar with him before I got into the awards ceremony. Oh, I didn't do the display. So here's the display view of him. They did a video, and he's the guy behind pretty much all the religious lawsuits that have been going on back east. I think it was Maryland, where they had a giant cross in a roundabout and they were trying to pull it out. He sued to protect that. He tried to sue to protect the LA County emblem, but ended up losing, so they took the cross off the LA County emblem. So this guy has gone out there and been fighting for religious freedoms, so that's great. It was pretty awesome to see that video because I wasn't aware of him. I know Judicial Watch, that's one I follow very closely, so I am now going to be watching Freedom X, that law firm, and following them much more closely and seeing the wins they pull out. And then, last but not least, they came up with an award here, a Game Changer Award, and they gave it to Brandon Strock. This man, I've obviously been following, and if you're not aware of who Brandon Strock is, he is the founder of the Walkaway campaign, hashtag Walkaway. I was starstruck myself when I saw him because he's out there putting in the work. If I could reach, just a small percentage of what Brandon Strock has already done in this country, I'd be happy and humbled myself, because that's what I want to do. That's why I do this show. That's why I talk to you guys. That's why I go out to the fair. That's why I go to these events and meet people and network and helping people out on campaigns, because I actually truly love this country and I want to make a difference. I don't want to be just some guy that talks. I want to get out there and walk the walk. And so I was starstruck when I met him. I got a picture of him. Super cool dude. Here's a picture I got with him at the award ceremony the other night. Super cool guy, down to earth. Really, really talked with me about it, and I just told him how much I appreciate his work he's putting in. And same thing I'm pretty much telling you here is that if I was able to just reach a percentage of people that he has, I would be humbled and super stoked and happy. And he put out a phenomenal speech when he got his award, and I was just at a loss for words. He said exactly what needed to be said. That there's political activists that are out there working, like Brandon Strock is out there working, and he said it's rough. He said we're out there working, we're putting ourselves out there, and we're being attacked nonstop by the media, and we have all these things going on, but we need your help. We need help, people. I come to these, he said, like, he comes to these things all the time, and he talks to people, and everybody shakes his hand and says, thank you so much for everything you're doing for us, and yada yada, blah blah blah, we appreciate the help. And he says, great, help donate to me so I can keep doing this. And they turn tuck tail and walk away. Listen, he makes a great point. These people that are out there, these activists, these people that are putting in true work, there's people out there that they call patriots that are out there just trying to make $1 and just use Trump to make money. Brandon Strock is not one of those guys. He's out there putting in true work. Like, so if this guy does even make a few dollars, I don't see any problem with that at all. But help fund this guy. Help him get out there. Help get the message out. You want to win in 2020, help get it out there. If you do have businesses or you can't really get out there and put yourself out there, because obviously the liberal backlash is terrible and it's harsh. But you have people like Brandon Strock, people like me, who are willing to put themselves out there and fight for all of our freedoms and be the face of pushing this forward. Help us. Help conservative activists, true conservative activists that are out there putting work. And if you feel that you would like to help, donate to these guys. All these guys got funds that they use to try to keep pushing the message. It's hard to travel. It's hard to go to events. It's hard to go to these dinners when you don't have the funding. When I work full-time job, my wife works full-time job. I'm raising 3 kids. I got a mortgage. I live here in California. It's super expensive. So trying to do all these other things on the side, it's not cheap. So I completely understand what he's saying there and help these people out. So it was a fun. Here's a couple other pictures. Met few other cool people. I met Joy Villa. She's the one you probably recognize her from the Make America Great Grammy dress that she wore. Super cool. She was awesome, down to earth. And the last one I really want to point out here is this is Joe Collins. So go to joecollins.com and push this guy forward. Look him up. He is running against Mad Maxine Waters, and this guy has a true shot, I believe, of winning. So he's going to need all the help we can get. So please go to his website, donate to this guy's campaign, because he's going to need every penny he can to get Mad Maxine out of her spot. So Joe Collins, he was a super cool guy. I talked with him for a while, and I'm excited that we have a legit good candidate running against Mad Maxine Waters. So on to the last thing I just want to talk about real quick is I went to the fair last night here in my local fair, and we're in a purple district. We're going to be in a tough battle. I believe we're going to be able to win our seat back here in 2020. We just lost it last election cycle. And so hopefully we can regain our seat. It's going to be tough because, like I said, we are in purple district. So when I went to the fair, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I go walking in there with my MAGA hat like, oh, this could be a little rough. I'll see how it goes. I had no problems whatsoever. And I'm glad I didn't, because I really I wanted to see. It was kind of like a social test. I wanted to see how it went. Because our fair could be a little rough. It's a little rough area, so the fair's kind of rough. And granted, no knocks to any of the city around here. They do a great job keeping it as clean and peaceful and calm and family-friendly environment as they can. But it can be rough. I think that's all fairs. I think it's kind of just brings out a little bit of a rougher crowd. People get drunk and obnoxious. But I had zero problems. I had one drunk, and they were younger kids, giving me a little bit of a hard time at the end of the night. Trump, the I hate Trump kind of crowd. But other than that, I got bunch of thumbs ups. I got a ton of the thumbs ups. Lots of people actually came up to the Republican booth and talked with me, and I was able to get a lot of information out. So it was very pleasantly surprising to me, because I expected I was going to be doing, because I'm working the closing shift, so I'm dealing with all the end of the night drunk people. So I figured that's essentially what I was going to be dealing with, is a bunch of drunk people just giving me crap for being a Trump supporter, being a conservative. But it's complete opposite, and that's a good sign to me in multiple ways. It shows that hopefully maybe this crazy rhetoric is calming down a little bit, that people, aren't vandalizing the booth, that aren't coming up and attacking us, milkshaking us, just because we're conservative. And I talked to many people. I had a couple people actually who were actually, like, they are Democrats, but they just kind of came up and talked. And I told them, like, listen, I'm not telling you to vote for Trump. I'm not telling you to vote any party lines. Here's what I'm telling you to do. Just look at the policy. Take out who's pushing the policy. Check who's pushing the bill or whatever item, ticket, or whatever the thoughts are. Just read whatever bills you see, whatever taxes you see, whatever propositions you see. I want you to just read it. Take out who's telling you to like this or not. Read it for yourself and vote your conscience. And I'm telling you, most Democrat people, if they were just to read bills, propositions, excuse me, and all these other things, they would be voting conservative. And I've said that many times, is that's the problem. Moderate, left-leaning Democrats can never vote conservative because they'll be ostracized, they'll be attacked. And again, There's no moderate conservative. That's the problem. If you're a conservative, you're a racist bigot, you're the worst person in the world, you're evil. So we need to get rid of that. We need to break that barrier down. I consider myself a moderate conservative. I'm not a far-right conservative. I have far-right values, but I also have some values that lean left. But I just want less government. Less government, more money in my pocket. I want to keep my tax money. I want everybody else to keep their tax money. And I just want everybody to vote their heart. And like I said, if you really just read the propositions, took out party lines, most of you moderate Democrats would vote conservative values. And that's how I'm going to end the show today. Vote with your heart. Don't vote on party lines. Just read it. That's all I ask anybody out there. Just read your propositions. Just read your pamphlets when you go to vote and vote what you believe on. Don't believe what the media is telling you. Don't believe what everybody else is telling you. Read the pamphlet and just tell yourself, do I agree with this policy or not? Do I agree with taxes being raised? Do I want to pay a whole bunch more taxes? Do I want the government to take my guns? I don't know. All you have to do is read it and come to your own conclusion. And when you do, guess what? You're really a conservative. Don't be mad. We're not that evil. It's not that bad over here. So anyhow, that's all I have. And I'm going to be at the fair for the rest of the week. So anybody here locally, here in the Antelope Valley, I will be at the fair from 8:30 to midnight the rest of the week, getting people out, registering people to vote, and hopefully changing some minds, and hopefully not getting milkshaked. But other than that, even if I do, I'll have a great time because I love this country and I love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for watching my show today. If you've missed any other episodes, you can check them out right there. You can also follow me on Facebook, or you can follow me right there on Twitter. Follow me at patreon.com/CSAP. And please donate and help me out, and you could get on the end screen credits that are at the end of this video here. So I will talk to you guys later. Thank you all for all your support, and please share me and help me get my reach as far as we can, because we are gonna keep America great.